Andreas Krieg is an assistant professor at the Defence Studies Department at King's College London. He joins us now live from Istanbul. Andreas, good to have you with us. What do you make of what you just heard there about what Rex Tillerson said? Is the US losing patience with Saudi Arabia?
Yes, unfortunately, the United States don't really have a coherent strategy. For the most part, they have a policy towards the Middle East, but they don't have a coherent strategy. I think there is, until now, the Trump administration hasn't spoken with one voice. We know that Tillerson is quite sympathetic, for example, towards Qatar, sympathetic towards the smallest countries in the region, and he's quite antagonistic towards the Saudi intervention the attempt of the Saudis to meddle with the internal affairs. Then we have Mattis, the Secretary of Defense, who himself is also quite critical of some of the Saudi meddling. And then we have, most importantly, the White House, which seems to increasingly move away from State Department and Defense Department in the way they do policy. I mean, the latest move in Jerusalem, or on Jerusalem, is very much a symbol of that. It's a sign that the White House will do things as they see fit, sometimes even against the recommendations of those who actually understand the Middle East and who understand the long-term policy consequences. So even though, I mean, it's quite clear Tillerson has been very critical of the Yemen operation. Mattis has been a little more, lenient. But even Mattis has come out quite slightly critical of what's going on in Yemen. And even the Trump administration. We now have to see whether this is just rhetoric or they can actually translate this into a policy shift towards Saudi Arabia, if the Americans can actually, and are willing also to exercise more pressure. I'm a bit more critical about this because I know that the US strategy in the Middle East very much relies on the Gulf, relies on the UAE and Saudi Arabia as their most important partners. And that's why they probably don't want to affront them.
But in terms of Saudi behaviour, as far as not only Yemen is concerned, but Qatar and Lebanon as well, the US has only got itself to blame, is what you're saying.
Yes, I mean, not the Americans as a whole, but the Trump White House in particular has given a carte blanche to Riyadh and to Abu Dhabi to take matters into their own hands to fight the two big evils, which is ISIS and Iran in the eyes of the Trump administration. And by empowering them, empowering two quite irrational, quite impulsive leaders, I think the Trump administration kind of created the situation that we're in right now. And now they're trying to backtrack from it because they see even domestically there is now an outcry about what's going on in Yemen. But still, we shouldn't, unfortunately, as horrible as it is in Yemen, it is still not high on the priority list, I think, within public debate, to pressure the Trump administration to take drastic measures. But I think it's we have to see how the situation evolves, and it could possibly be that the Trump administration will have to, for example, freeze some of the military support that they give to Saudi Arabia.
All right, you talk about the US speaking with two voices. Are we likely now, do you think, to see a more coherent single voice as far as US foreign policy is concerned, after what we've heard over the past 24 hours or so about this pressure on Saudi Arabia?
Well, it kind of looks like it. As I said, I think it's on the surface, it's a lot of rhetoric. Diplomatically, I think there are personal relationships here at play, personal relationships between Kushner, between Trump, so people of the White House, and those leaders in the Gulf, particularly in Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi. These leaders and these personal relationships are more important, and I don't think the Americans are willing yet to jeopardize these personal relationships for what they see not to be such a dramatic crisis. The Trump administration is trying to move on ISIS. They've been quite successful. They're trying to move against Iran. They don't really know how to do that yet. And, last but not least, they want to get some sort of solution for the Arab-Israeli conflict. And, what they've done was kind of counterproductive. But I think there is some strategy there with the White House. And at this moment, Yemen is not part of this, really. Yemen is part of fighting Iran. And, and the Trump administration has said from the beginning, kind of signaled to Saudi Arabia, take all measures necessary to deal with what they see to be an Iranian threat in Yemen, which it is obviously not. It's a lot more than that.
Andreas, good to talk to you. Many thanks indeed. Andreas Krieg there in Istanbul.
Thank you.